your hosts, Vicki Hyman and Erin Medley.
Hello and welcome to Remote Possibilities. I am Erin Medley along with Vicki Hyman. Hi, Vicki.
Hi.
And we have a special guest in studio today. Chris Kelly's here.
Hello.
Or Christopher Kelly.
Get it right.
If we want to be official. This is episode 60 of Remote Possibilities, which is very exciting. You can find us on Twitter at Remote Podcast, at E_meds, and at Vicki High, VICKIHY. Chris, what's your Twitter handle?
At Chris Kelly, KELOY 74. Chris Kelly 74.
Chris Kelly 74. Chris is here because we're going to talk about Hairspray Live, which aired on NBC Wednesday night. We all watched. Well, Vicki and I watched the whole thing. Chris watched most of it.
Which is more than can be said for Rocky Horror.
This is true because
which he still felt compelled to talk about.
Listen, for Hairspray, I got through both of my two favorite songs in the show, so
Vicki,
I feel justified.
Did you watch all of Rocky Horror?
I watched all of Rocky Horror.
That's sad for you.
That's my job.
Before we dive into Hairspray Live, we mentioned last week that we had an announcement to make this week. So we should do it at the top of the hour because this is going to be a long podcast.
But then everybody's going to like go away.
We have a lot of things to talk about, so we have to drop this bomb here. It is officially my last podcast as an NJ Advanced Media employee.
That's important.
That is important. I am moving on to work for TVinsider.com, which is the website for TV Guide Magazine, where I'll be co-managing editor. I'm very excited about that, but very, 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 very upset about leaving Vicki here by her lonesome in this
curled
podcast.
Up in a corner of the office crying. And muttering about Teresa Giudice.
This is true. But the good news is that because I am going to a TV publication, there seems to be a perfect opportunity for us to continue Remote Possibilities. It's just that Vicki will be the critic at NJ Advanced Media, and I will be the fan and editor at TVinsider.com. So hopefully we will make this work. This will be our last podcast until the new year, and we will figure it out, and we will be back because we enjoy doing this show so much.
Yes, we do.
And we like doing it with one another, and I couldn't imagine it being any other way.
Awesome.
Right?
Awesome. I'll still be employed.
Oh, please. If this podcast were to go away, you'd still be employed.
I hope so. There's always Teresa Giudice.
So definitely keep following us on Twitter. We'll make any announcements there. But let's just dive right into Hairspray. We don't want to, bring down the mood of the podcast.
But we're talking about Hairspray, therefore we are going to bring down the mood of the podcast.
Well, it is a heavy topic. You know when you watch a movie again, or like you revisit something from the past, and you're like, oh yeah, this was about racism.
That's kind of
segregation.
I mean, well, you don't really realize that until I guess there's this like weird race riot in the middle of Big Blonde and Beautiful, and Tracy Turnblad gets taken away, and it's like, oh, dude, that's right.
Right.
It's about segregation. Well, it's not about dancing.
So I don't know if either of you caught this. They actually added something to the script of the show. Early in the show, there's a scene where Seaweed and Tracy first meet in the classroom.
Yes.
And Tracy uses the word Negro.
Yes.
Right.
And there's this awkward exchange where he says, we don't like this word, and Tracy says, I forget how it went.
But she says the word again.
She says the word again.
Right.
That's actually not in the original show. Because in 1962, Negro was a sort of acceptable word at the time. So they sort of added that, I think, to sort of make it a little more accessible to contemporary audiences. But I saw that and it sort of threw out the rhythm of the storytelling, but honestly, that was the least of this thing's problems.
It is the least of the problems, but that is a little weird that they would add that in there because, like, it wouldn't have thrown me out because I know it's set in the early 60s, so that's perfectly...
it didn't seem out of the ordinary to me.
It actually did seem out of the ordinary when they... I didn't realize it wasn't part of the musical, but it did seem a little strange.
The little lecture he gives her, yeah.
But the thing is, if you read a lot of press going into Hairspray, the creators were all talking about, or the producers were all talking about how this is a really great time for it because of, our issues with the racial divide. But, I mean, it didn't seem like there was any there in this particular performance.
You mean you're saying we can't fix the racial divide by dancing and singing?
No, it
was drag.
I guess it was not. There was not enough life to it, or I wasn't really connecting to it emotionally, really at all. So I just didn't feel it was like watching a musical. on TV.
That's interesting. I mean, I will say that I saw the original Broadway production of Hairspray, and I thought it was good. I don't remember emotionally connecting to that. I think the movie Hairspray, the one that came out, not the original. I mean, I've seen the original too, but the one with Queen Latifah and Nikki Blonsky.
2007.
Yeah, I felt more connected there, but it's a movie, so I think movies resonate a little differently than like.
Well, I think
musicals.
it was the build-up that they were giving it before, like
Yeah.
such a great musical for the times, and I just didn't feel it.
Right.
I mean, I thought, can we talk about the technical issues here?
Yes,
for
yeah.
me,
please.
That was my hang-up from the start. They were trying to do what they did with Grease Live, but I don't know, did they not do enough tech rehearsals? The camera seemed perennially in the wrong place. They kept cutting so much, and I think, Vicki, that's where, when you talk about not developing an emotional connection, the camera was forever
It was
cutting.
taking you out of it.
It was in the wrong place.
But don't you also feel like there were a lot of wide shots? And wide shots don't bring you in emotionally because you're so far away from people and you don't get to see their facial expressions. And I thought there were a lot of wide shots, not enough close-ups. And from a technical perspective, one of the other things that just really kept distracting me was the fact that no matter what, whenever they were outside, it was like pitch black. Like it's midnight. I'm like, so that there are no daylight hours in Baltimore. Now, I completely understand. It's 5 o'clock.
But it's a
on the
Hollywood
West
backlog.
Coast.
Presumably they have like lights.
Lights.
Yeah.
Right. When
people who know
when
how
the
to use
first
them.
song is Good Morning, Baltimore, and it's clearly
like,
dusk.
Wait a minute. It's like she's going to school at 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, what time is it? That really threw me off because I was like, no matter what, whenever they were outside, it was the middle of the night.
You know, I'm tempted to give them a little bit of a break because I was thinking about this. It's the fourth time they've done it. There was like the Fox musical Grease. And it's almost like this is the beginning of I don't want to call it an art form, but like music videos when they first started in the early 80s, at first it was just like a lot of people performing, and then they sort of developed themes and there were storylines, and it got more mature in the storytelling, visually, whatever. And here I feel like they're trying different ways to do it. In Grease, I don't know what they did with Grease, but they really pulled off this whole 360-degree set and going out. It wasn't just like a taped musical performance like the first couple of shows were, like The Wiz and Sound of Music and Peter Pan. So,
but don't you think this time they sort of went too far in that direction? It needed a
but
little
I'm
more
saying,
of the stage
but they're
boundness.
trying. They're trying different things, and this time it didn't work for me. With Grease, it really did work.
But I will say that overall, I thought it was great. I mean, technical issues aside, which I really felt most in the first hour, and then after that, they kind of got back on track. But Hairspray itself is just such a great musical. Like, the music is so good. I was like toe tapping and, singing along, and I thought everyone's vocals were great. Unlike what's her name, Laverne Cox in Rocky Horror Picture Show, which was not good. And Uzo Aduba and The Wiz, also not great. But I thought everyone gave great performances in the show. I liked it a lot.
I was less in love with the lead, whose name I'm going to make.
Maddie Bailio, Bailio.
I love that I pull up a cast listing and she's not even on there.
She's not
She's
listed.
the main character.
I thought, that's a tough part. It's a deceptively tough part because you got to be really like bright as sunshine, but you also got to have some sex appeal, and you're carrying most of the show. And I just didn't think, while likable, I don't know, she just didn't rise to the level of the previous performers.
I just don't think she has much charisma.
Yeah.
She just wasn't like, you have to like just throw it out there. And we discussed this earlier, Erin, that in the first song, Good Morning Baltimore, she either forgot some lines or she got winded.
I think she got winded because it seemed like a lot for her, that one song, because there was a lot of movement and she was really the only person singing. I mean, there was the chorus, but so I just think she got a little winded. It really didn't bother me that much. I know it bothered you.
Bothered me a lot.
Can we talk about the national treasure that is Jennifer Hudson?
Oh, negative.
What are you talking about? She was the highlight of the show.
She
absolutely was.
I'm with
not
Vicki
the
on
acting,
this.
Not the acting. Can we distinguish between the acting
She
and the
can't
singing?
act.
Okay, well,
It was the same as The Color Purple on Broadway.
it was the same as
And Sex in the City.
No,
She didn't sing in Sex in the City.
And
She was
Dreamgirls,
She's just a terrible. I'm sorry.
She's not a good dramatic
terrible
actress.
actress.
So then how is
The
she
songs.
the national?
The second she opens her mouth.
These songs.
Let me tell you something. The entire time she was singing that one song, the really, really good one.
Big Blonde and Beautiful.
Nope, not that one.
The other one.
The next one.
I Know Where I've Been.
I Know
which
Where
was
I've
wonderful.
Been. It was fine, but all I kept thinking of was the Queen Latifah version in the last movie, which I think is much better.
I actually don't remember the Queen Latifah version.
Well, maybe you need to watch it again.
Maybe I do. Maybe I don't.
I
thought it was great.
I think Queen Latifah gave ultimately a better performance and fit the role a little bit better.
But I felt there was so
but J. Hud can sing.
Let me tell you something. My dislike of Jennifer Hudson as a singer, I mean, because we all agree she's not a good actress, but my dislike of Jennifer Hudson as a singer goes all the way back to American Idol days. And I watched that season with Fantasia and the other one with the short hair whose name I can't remember.
London.
Correct.
God, out of the...
And when Jennifer
my
Hudson
brain.
got kicked off, I was like, I totally understand why she did not win. And I will give it to her in this particular performance, she didn't do as much of it, but she is a screaming singer. And for anyone who is actually into R&B music and big vocals by African American women, her voice, she's just irritating. She goes from a level 0 to a level 10 when there's no build up. No, but there's no build up. So then to me, there's no emotion. All she's doing, it's like This Is Us. To bring it back to TV. This Is Us goes for the level 10 tiers every single time. They don't try to like maybe middle a little bit, try to give you a little build up to get there. They're like, no, we are going to manipulate you into crying every time. That to me is how Jennifer Hudson performs.
Don't you love This Is Us?
I like This Is Us.
J. Hud gets me every time she sings. That's all I can say.
Negative.
Also,
I mean, she has a great voice. I'm not saying that.
Props also to Kristen Chenoweth, who I thought did a really nice job as well.
Kristen Chenoweth can do no wrong.
Yeah, you can see her chops, her live theater chops.
Yes.
She can just nail it. And,
agreed. What about that little girl?
Oh, stole that scene just right out of nowhere. I don't know who she was.
I don't know who she was either.
The scene where they first go to Motor Mouth Mabel's
yes.
record store. Yeah, she was fantastic.
She was great.
The other issue can I bring up, which is the same issue we've had in a bunch of these shows, is that there's no reaction from the audience. Like, you're watching a live musical, and there should be like some exchange of energy going on here, and there was an audience there.
Right.
You didn't hear them. It wasn't
I heard them.
I heard them very little. There were like, I think the main problem was that like Hairspray is a funny show, and and the jokes were just falling flat. I thought that the spoken emotional moments, not the song, but like they were just being put out there and just like a pancake on the ground. And so all the humor that you get out of it, like, you know, you share that with the audience.
Did you think the humor in Grease Live really came across?
I don't think Grease is as funny a show. And there was an audience sprinkled throughout, I think, that were reacting more, but the dialogue here, it's just the same problem with The Wiz. The Wiz had some funny lines that just fell flat.
Yeah, but the Wiz
I don't know how to solve that. I don't really know how to solve that.
I think they're clearly trying to make it like an audience experience.
Yeah.
I didn't think the way they chose to try to make it an audience experience, like Darren Criss periodically throwing to NBC affiliates.
Didn't I say that last week? I was
absolutely.
like, that is the one thing that all of these musicals can get rid of. We do not need a host between segments. Like, I don't need that. Who? For what?
I mean, if you wanted to do a making of Grease Live or making of Hairspray and like do like a 1 hour special the next night, I don't care.
Right?
Don't put it in the show.
We don't need
This
that.
was weird. It didn't just take you out of the show; it took you to the local affiliates in random cities that you didn't need to know.
Remember when they did the Jesus show? What show was
Yes,
that? The Passion.
The Passion. Yes,
there was like,
there was actually a march through the streets of New Orleans, and you had like a sideline reporter interviewing people.
It was like, and now Jesus has fallen with the cross. It was like, what is happening? I don't need a play-by-play.
I'd forgotten about that.
See?
That was terrible.
That was terrible. And that was also a Fox production. And look, just words to the wise here for all of the networks. We don't need a sideline reporter for any of these shows. No. Like, it's completely unnecessary. And I like Darren Criss, but his agent should have told him to pass.
He's adorable man. Hard
pass. All right. So, if you had to pick a favorite musical number, which one would you choose?
I really liked Big Blonde and Beautiful, and I love Jennifer Hudson's other song. The one person who I wanted to give a shout out to is Ephraim Sykes, who played Seaweed Stubbs. And I thought Ephraim? I'm Jewish. I'm saying
I know. I'm like, what are you?
That's what it is. In Hebrew, it's Ephraim.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. No, it's just Ephraim.
I'm sorry. Like, I didn't really know who he was, and I just thought that
neither.
he was what I think the actor who played Duty in Grease was. Like, somebody just kind of comes out of nowhere and is just talented on all levels, and you could really see he is a full triple threat as opposed to a lot of the other people who could sing or could dance or could act and didn't quite have it all going on. I thought he was great.
I agree.
I second Vicki's vote for Big Blonde and Beautiful. I thought that's where it really, they had the fewest problems, and J HUD just nailed that number. I thought I loved it.
My favorite was Welcome to the 60s. Welcome to the 60s. Oh, oh,
Really?
oh, oh, oh. Go, mama, go, go, go.
I thought that was one of the lesser stage.
Oh,
I also think it's one of the
liked
lesser songs in
it.
the show.
I like it. That was the first song where I was like, oh yeah, I'm snapping, I'm tapping, I'm dancing in bed.
I didn't really do any of that throughout the
wow.
entire show.
What? The
That's not
songs
really
are just so good.
I mean, it did confirm Hairspray is just a really infectious show. It may not be the
Yes.
greatest musical ever, but it is one of the
Vicki.
funnest.
Sorry.
You know what the greatest musical ever is? Dear Evan Hansen.
We'll wait for
Let me just tell
wait for the NBC live version of that
Let
one.
me just tell a quick story here. So Chris and I went to see Dear Evan Hansen, which is a new Broadway musical.
Broadway sensation.
Critics love it. It is critically acclaimed.
All critics love it?
No, Chris Kelly
There
hated
is
it.
one critic in America.
Because Chris Kelly is a horrible person.
Ignorant.
I didn't like it.
Ill-qualified.
Oh, I hated it too. It was
I
not
actually
good.
got an email about what a horrible person I am for writing that review, and I had to point out, no, I wrote the Jersey Boys story. Or no, Bronx Tale story.
So
I'm
wait,
sorry.
so there's a Hairspray tie-in here. So last night, I was getting targeted for all of these ads on Twitter about Broadway shows. So like my first one was, listen to the For Good, which is from Wicked. You know that Kristen Chenoweth, who's in Hairspray Live, is singing with Idina Menzel. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's so good. I've watched this before. I'll watch it again. Then I get targeted an ad like, Dear Evan Hansen is like the musical of the season. It's so good. So then I tweeted Chris and basically said, this is like just for you, Chris Kelly, knowing that he hated the show, and the Dear Evan Hansen people favorited the tweet. And I was like, little do they know. Little do they know.
Erin and I saw Dear Evan Hansen. Behind us, a woman sobbed so uncontrollably that I thought we were
Bawling.
going to have to call an ambulance.
For 20 minutes.
Well, I mean, she could have had a personal connection to the material.
We
but
did
you
not.
people
No.
are horrible people, so you would not know that or consider that.
I would encourage everyone to look up Chris's review of Dear Evan Hansen on
And then
NJ.com.
troll me on Twitter.
And then troll him on Twitter and say what a terrible, terrible person he is. That's, what is it, Chris Kelly?
Chris Kelly, 74.
74. So any final thoughts on Hairspray Live? Where would you rank it out of all of the musicals that we've seen thus far? So just to recap, we've had The Wiz, Peter Pan, Grease,
The Sound of Music.
The Sound of Music,
The Passion,
and
Rocky Horror.
Rocky Horror was recorded, but we'll count
Yes.
it.
I'm actually going to give it number 2, even though I was kind of down on it.
I'm with you.
I would go number 3.
Actually, 3. Sorry, 3. 3. It was number 2 among my NBC musicals, number 3 overall.
Okay, so what are your 1
Grease,
and 2?
The Wiz, this. Sorry.
Ditto.
Really, you're putting The Wiz above,
Yes, I am.
even though The Wiz was less ambitious.
The Wiz was less ambitious, and I thought,
And is a lesser show.
It was a lesser show, and they didn't really do that much production-wise, but I just thought the performances on a whole were so spectacular across the board, except for Uzo Aduba. Okay.
This seemed to be more glitchy than anything since Peter Pan. So I
think it was more glitchy than Peter Pan.
Yeah, I hold that against it.
All right, well, I'm going to go Grease, Hairspray, The Wiz. That's where I land. Well, Chris, thank you for joining our Hairspray
I'm out of
Live
here.
conversation.
Thank you guys for bringing this podcast into all of our hearts.
Oh,
and
wow.
I dread its brief hiatus, but I look forward to its continuation in the new year.
And maybe we'll allow you to come back as a guest.
I would love to.
We
Thank
shall
you guys.
see.
I am big, blonde, and beautiful.
Oh, yes. All right. So we're going to talk about a couple of finales here. Westworld had its season 1 finale on Sunday. It was a doozy of an episode.
It's funny because we haven't talked about it, but I know we disagree.
We haven't talked about it at all, and I think we completely disagree. You thought it was a great season finale.
I thought it was terrific.
I thought it was all right. It was fine. I mean, where do we even start? I don't even know what to say. So, okay, so what we saw in the penultimate episode, so Maeve and Rodrigo Santoro. What's the character's name? Hector. Are having sex.
Is everybody going to miss Erin not being able to
name
anybody's names? Okay.
I mean, even when I pull up the names of the people, I can't name them.
Maeve and Hector.
Maeve and Hector are having sex in the fire.
Which we find out why they were having sex in the fire.
So they can be rebuilt?
So they can be rebuilt without the exploding spine.
Right.
Which Felix slipped in there, or Sylvester.
Oh, can we talk about, what's his name?
Which one? Felix?
Sure.
The
Is
tech?
that the tech?
The Asian tech?
I still don't understand his motivation.
Yeah, I don't understand his motivation either, other than he's a wonderful human being, which really makes him a terrible human being.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean...
Because now he's responsible, so
God, we're
Hector,
delving, like, right into the minutia of this.
Well, because Hector and Maeve...
He's on board. He's on board with the whole robot rebellion. Armistice.
Go on a killing rampage... And, just start murdering people.
Well, they're trying to get out.
They're trying to escape, but now don't you think Felix, who's this great human being, should feel like he has all this blood on his hands?
He does have blood in his hands.
I mean, he just irritates me. And honestly, I would say...
Oh, I'm sorry, but you weren't amused by him doing the robot when he was trying to figure out whether he was a robot when he realized that. That was fine.
Okay. But I would say, to me, I think if I'm being more of a critic than a fan here,
your job.
Which is not my job.
You're not licensed.
But you're not doing it.
I
would say
that
is some lazy storytelling by the creators of this show, because we really don't understand Felix's motivation. It was one thing where he saw that Maeve was really trying to figure out who she was, and she was like coming into this realization that she was a robot, not a human, and that her daughter may not have been hurt. That I totally got, and I could see how he would fall for that as a good guy. But now you have all of this blood on your hands, and he's still going with it, and I just don't understand.
You're picking at like one flaw of the show. Yes, I think that there were holes, and I think some of the holes are going to be filled in upcoming seasons. Mm-hmm. There were some things that didn't really that stretched logic. I thought there was like way too much exposition of like, when you have like, the murderer explaining his entire thing to his future victim. So, so then his victim can take whatever.
Right.
There was like too much of that, but I was really impressed for both the people who have been keeping up with all the theories and the people who have not been keeping up all theories, that for both, I felt that it unspooled in a very intelligent way. You could keep up with it, but it still was surprising to some people.
Yeah.
I thought that the reveal that Dr. Ford had basically been behind this entire plot the entire time. This is all part of his grand plan. That he came to realize, even though he'd been saying the opposite throughout the entire season, that he came to believe what Arnold believed, which is what these beings, these hosts, had achieved consciousness and did not deserve to be living like this as basically slaves,
right.
For the amusement of humans.
But don't you think a lot of this episode was, again, and I'm going to say it, lazy writing? Because there was a lot of exposition. It was like, okay, in case you couldn't follow what was happening, we're just going to talk you through it.
I actually appreciated that. I thought yes, there was too much, but I was okay with how they went through it.
Did you need Arnold to tell you the entire story of what happened and the puzzle and Dolores and then how he told Dolores to kill him? And
because I'm thinking, I remember Lost where they're raising all these things that they never ever answer them.
I didn't say they could. I don't think that they. I'm not saying they shouldn't have answered them, but I don't need you to sit me down and tell me a story.
I'm saying, that maybe they could have done it in a a less.
Yeah, right.
Here's where it all is. I said too much exposition, but
yeah.
I think that, they explain things,
Dolores is Wyatt.
And it still surprised me.
The man in black is William.
Well, I knew that was coming.
And the William thing, can we talk about that for a second? So, William sees Dolores after they were separated, and she doesn't remember him because, hello, William, she's a robot.
Yes.
And so that, leads him on this path to become the man in black where he, torments her and tortures her and rapes her for, how many years?
A few years.
Let's just 30.
Yeah.
And then he smacks her. I was just like, what?
Okay, well, the idea is that the robots are becoming human. And the humans are showing how much that they really don't deserve the title. And so you start off with William, who seems to be a good guy, morals, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes into the park, and they keep saying throughout the show, this park will show you, I think Logan keeps saying, this park shows you who you really are. And Dolores helped him realize that, hey, I got a knack for this. Killing people, I enjoy doing it. And then that's kind of what it is, because he's a horrible human just like everybody else.
Yeah, but in the real world, that we're supposed to believe that he's this great philanthropist and that he's actually only a horrible human being in Westworld.
Yes. Because he realizes this is who he is, and this Westworld becomes the world for him, which is probably what contributed to his wife committing suicide or whatever she did.
But why do they keep trying to make... Well, they try to make it seem like it was this love affair with Dolores that sent him on the wrong path.
I don't think it was the love affair with Dolores. I think the whole experience that he went on with Dolores, he never would have realized this is who he really is.
But why torment and rape her for 30 years?
Because he turned out, I really like tormenting and raping people.
No,
this is my thing.
He likes tormenting and raping Dolores.
Yeah, well...
Because she broke his heart, because she couldn't remember who he was, because she's a robot?
Well, the thing is, he realized they're all robots and he could do whatever he wants to them. But then there is the ongoing... There's like the next permutation, which is that he's done everything the park has to do. He's raped everybody he wants to rape, I guess, repeatedly. And now he's going to, he's looking for a worthy adversary. And that's why in the end, he is so pleased when he sees all of the, self-actualized robots
well, he actually
coming
gets
out.
Shot.
He actually does get shot.
Yes.
He gets shot, he gets winged.
Yeah.
He's gonna be back
good to know.
Yeah, he's going to be back for the next season.
Of course.
So I think that's very interesting. And I'm interested in seeing, what happens with this character.
So let's see. So let's talk about some of the big things that we saw in this episode. We saw the samurais.
Oh my god, I was so excited because I'm a big fan of the original movie, and so when they went to Samurai World, I was like, ah!
So Samurai World would be different than Westworld. It's a different park.
No, I've had arguments with people who've seen this who says, oh, well, clearly Samurai World is this like whole thing that's already in existence, and I'm like, no, I really think it's like they're testing Samurai World because Ford is the guy who created all these things.
Right.
And we've only ever seen him in the context of Westworld, wearing the Westworld clothes. I don't think there's any way that if there was another completely other world that we wouldn't have seen like one little hint of it, that you could even look back and be like, oh, that's what he was talking about.
Yeah, but there were times where Ford wasn't
bringing down Westworld.
No, I understand, but there were times when Ford wasn't around. I would say where you'd be like, oh, well, where's Ford right now?
Did he change into a geisha outfit? I mean, like what?
No, well, but we didn't see him, so we wouldn't know. It's like saying we don't see him 24 hours a day.
Do you think he has this plan going on in all the different parts? I mean, because once all hell breaks loose in Westworld, what the hell's going to happen in Samurai World?
Well, here's the question. So at the end of the episode, we see that Dolores shoots Ford in the back of the head.
Yes, he's dead.
Which is part of his plan. Is he dead?
Yes, I'm sure he's dead.
Are you sure?
I am sure he's dead.
How do we know that wasn't Robot Ford?
Are you saying that the robot he was building down the basement was his own?
You never know.
No,
How do you know?
I don't think so.
Why?
Because I don't think so. I don't think it makes any sense. I think this was his plan. He was killing. It also mimics Arnold's plan. I mean, this is exactly what happened with Arnold, except he's sort of taking it to the next extreme.
But then who? So let's say Ford is actually dead. Who's running Westworld?
It looks like the robots are going to be in charge of Westworld.
That's not going to work next season. We need the human element. So is it going to be Tess?
Well, I think that's interesting you should say that because we see that Elsie and Stubbs both disappeared. We don't know if they're alive or dead. And I think that they put them in their back pocket because they're going to come back and play some sort of role.
Who put them in their back pocket?
I think Ford.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Put them in the back pocket. I don't know why, but I think and the creators just put them aside, didn't kill them. So
because you know what, you know my theory, and I think you agree with this. If you don't see someone actually die on camera, they're probably not dead.
They're probably not dead.
Yeah.
And Game of Thrones, it's true. Here, it's true.
Yeah. So, look, I'm not saying that I love season 1 of Westworld. I thought the finale was fine. I just think it did what a lot of shows do, and I don't like it, which is set everything up for season 2 or for the next season. And it did a lot of that. So we saw that Maeve had the opportunity to escape, and she got on the train, which who knows where the heck that goes. And then she decided, nope, I'm going to go back and look for my daughter.
She decided that was a major moment. That was we found out also that this whole escape plan had been programmed probably by Ford.
But how do we know that part wasn't programmed? We don't know anything.
We don't know. We do not know. But it raises the possibility that she is making this decision on her
This
own.
entire place is, and this whole storyline could be Ford's making. Like,
Absolutely.
we just have no
Which
clue.
was totally brought home, and that was actually the biggest gut punch for me the entire season, was that when, the man in black roughs up Dolores and stabs her, and then Teddy takes her away, and they're by the ocean, they're having this underscene, and it turns out that it's just an elaborate play that Ford has put on.
Right, for
and
the
that just
donors.
killed me.
Yeah.
Absolutely killed me.
Right. I do think that at the end of the day, everything has been controlled and manipulated by Ford or some other being that maybe we haven't seen yet. But I don't think anything we see is actual reality. I think that at the end of Westworld, that is what we will see.
I think they leave us with the fact that the last moments these women take, Maeve and Dolores, these are decisions that they made on their own.
Wait. So you think that you don't think sorry, let me get my thoughts together. I think that Ford told Dolores to kill him.
I think that Ford left it up to Dolores to kill him.
Because remember, so there's been this theory
and she
online.
made the decision to do it.
I don't know if you followed this theory, but there's been this theory online that the music is what controls the
I haven't heard
host.
that theory.
Yeah, so did you see right before Dolores went up to the stage to shoot Ford, the music started playing? I think Ford completely programmed Dolores to shoot him in the head. I mean, his words were so poetic before it happened that I was like, oh yeah, he totally set this up.
I mean, I think that he does enjoy playing God, and I think he expected it to turn out like that, but I did think that he was leaving her with the opportunity to make that choice.
I don't know. Well, I guess we shall see in 2018. I mean, geez Louise. But I do think this is a show where it would be enjoyable to go back and rewatch.
I've already rewatched a few of the episodes.
Have you?
I have.
I've thought about it. I think I might do it when I have some time, which is who knows when that's going to happen. Starting my new job and all. Another season finale that we did not talk about immediately after it aired, but I do think is worth it to give it a brief once over. Insecure, which is a show that you guys have heard me talk about it. I love the first season. I thought it was great. Issa Rae is really funny and a great actress, and everyone on that show is really good. So in the season finale, after we see the character, what's the main character's name? You know, I don't know names.
Issa?
Oh, yes. Is that her name on the show too?
Yes, it's her name on the show.
Who needs to know names?
Issa
like
and
in
Lawrence.
life or on
Lawrence
TV?
is her boyfriend.
Yeah, so we see that Issa and Lawrence have this relationship where she struggles with it because she doesn't think he is, ambitious enough. He sits on the couch all day, and he has this idea for an app, which everyone has an idea for an app, but he doesn't actually take steps to.
It's been like 4 years
to get it done. He's been trying to get us together for 4 years, is basically what she said. So she sleeps with her ex-boyfriend, who she has no feelings for, and, Lawrence finds out, and they break up, and that's sort of where we are in the finale, right?
Yes, although they break, he moves out, and then in the finale, she's up in Malibu with her friends. She gets a call from Lawrence.
By the way, I loved everything about that, because how rare is it on television that you see 4 professional African American women who live in LA going to spend the weekend in Malibu in this really nice house and just do girl things. Like, you do not see that on TV, and that to me, I was just like, yes, black people, we're like you. They're just like us. But we do the same thing.
But you did not think it was a big idea when I pointed that out in Luke Cage about the black professional women who are talking to each other in the police department. Because, I don't see very much of that on television.
Right, that's true. Yeah, but I just thought that was a different... they weren't going to hang out in Compton or whatever. You know what I mean? It's I don't even know where they were going. They're not going to Las Vegas. So, everyone goes to Las Vegas. They went to Malibu. That's very specific. But anyway, sorry.
Anyway, so she gets a call from Lawrence, and she comes home thinking that she's...
Yeah, can we talk about the call?
Okay.
So he's like, I miss you, and she's like, oh, I miss you too, and she races
and this is after
back.
We have to mention that I believe this is after he goes to get a lap dance from
at
somebody
a strip club,
and then he thinks he's hitting it off with the stripper, and then she starts quoting prices to him.
Right, she's like,
and then he walks out of there, and he's like, well, maybe I don't have it so bad
very
because
expensive
Issa
too.
doesn't,
Issa
doesn't quote prices to me.
Correct, in the hundreds.
Yeah.
So that's after we see that, and he makes this call to her, and Issa races back to him.
and finds out that he's moved everything out of the house except for
the
his
Best
Best Buy
Buy.
polo. And then we shoot to Lawrence, who is having torrid sex with
the
don't tell me the bank
ta-
clerk,
bank
the
teller, yeah,
who has always liked him.
correct,
Yeah.
And I mean, they are going at it,
Yeah.
and it just was like,
In I thought a very
Ugh.
telling way for Lawrence. Like, he was definitely in the dominant position.
yes, right. He had a rear view.
Okay.
And it kind of made me sad, but also made me happy. Because I think that this relationship for Issa was not a good relationship. There's no reason they need to be together, but I think that everyone has been in a relationship where they probably needed to get out, but they were either too comfortable or they're like, oh, the other person will change, we'll work it out,
But he
we'll figure
was
it out.
changing, which I thought was interesting.
Was he changing, though?
Well, the funny thing is, so he was changing. He got a job.
He did get a job.
Although, I love the moment, I think it was like in the 8th episode maybe,
Mm-hmm.
where he's like, yeah, I got this job, but maybe like I got some really good ideas for my app and I think I can move it. And she's like, bills.
Right.
And then he took the job.
He did take the job. He did take the job. But it took him 4 years to get a job.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Well, I mean,
change, and
we
then
did
there's
see him
you know,
going out for jobs. We did see him trying to get jobs.
right.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm defending Lawrence.
Yeah,
I don't really like Lawrence.
really-
The thing that I found interesting as, I don't know, as a white person,
Yeah.
was that
Really?
yes,
Tell me more.
Yes. Well, it's that we all live in our own bubbles, and my bubble is fairly white, but I have a few black friends.
Me?
And I actually, I wasn't
Not
talking
me.
about you.
Oh, okay, I
wasn't
see how it
talking
is.
about you. And
That's
so I
fine.
saw something that a friend of mine had posted, and then I didn't realize that there was this entire conversation in the black community
Mm-hmm.
about like Lawrence and women who think they're too big for men. Like, there's this whole big conversation happening around this
Mm-hmm. Yes.
finale that I didn't really know about because I'm not usually in that
Well,
Facebook circle. But then I read it, and then I read more, and I read more. I said, "Oh wow, this is a thing."
when you're a career-oriented African American woman, you don't want to date the guy that works at Best Buy. You just,
yeah, no,
you just
I
don't.
understand it, but I didn't realize it had become
It is a thing. It is a thing, and it is a conversation that is being had. I just thought it was a
So,
really...
are you on Team Issa or Team Lawrence? You're on Team Issa, right?
I'm not on either team, actually. I think they both need some self-improvement. I'm on Team Issa right now because I thought what he did was really callous. While I do understand she cheated
on
him
first.
She totally cheated on him, which is her fault. She should have just gotten out of that relationship. I mean, at the end of the day. However, I think what he did was it was mean for no reason. I think that when she cheated, she wasn't doing it to be hurtful to Lawrence, even though that's obviously what happened. But what he did to her was intentional. And
Although,
I
does
didn't
she
like
even?
that.
I mean, all she knows is that he moved out.
Yeah, but he left that Best Buy shirt hanging, and I think
Yes.
that said a lot.
Yeah.
I think that said a lot. So that was season 1 of Insecure. It will be back for season 2. I'm very happy about that. It's a great show, and if you haven't watched it yet, I recommend you
HBO Go.
pick it up. HBO Go. Let's move on to a show that we said we would talk about. We haven't really spent too much time on it all season, and that would be
I'm glitching. I'm like, what? Hold on.
The Walking Dead.
Oh, The Walking Dead, of course.
Yes, that's still on. People
still
are still watching it. Not as many people, but
Sort
people
of.
are still watching it. So I think that there are 2 major problems with The Walking Dead. Really just one with The Walking Dead specifically, and the other is just a zombie problem.
Yes.
But let's talk about the one with The Walking Dead first. Are you still watching?
I am, but I mean, like, really second screeny kind of watching. Like, I'm more playing Angry Birds while it's on.
Oh, you
but
still play Angry Birds? Wow.
I am.
No, I got to one level. At a certain point, I got to a level I couldn't pass, and I was like, I forget it.
No, I'm pretty devoted.
Remember Candy Crush?
I never played Candy Crush.
Oh, that was a good one.
Is this a little tangent?
It is a tangent. Same thing happened though. Got to a level, couldn't pass it. I was like, forget it. All right,
No,
The Walking Dead.
I am still watching. I mean, like, there are some episodes that draw me in more, like the one where Tara finds the all-female commune by the sea, and then this last one with Carl and Negan taking him out. I was just like, ugh. I think you're right. Anything with Negan, I just sort of tune out because I cannot stand this character.
problem with The Walking Dead is Negan.
We have to talk about Negan.
Every episode this season where Negan has appeared, I'm just not into it. I'm tuned out. I don't care. Every scene he's in, I'm just like, can we move
He's
on?
so one-dimensional.
He is a completely one-dimensional character, and this is coming from a person who absolutely loves Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I've said that on the show.
Denny. You love Denny, really.
And I loved... I loved the guy on The Good Wife
Mr. Winchester
more.
as well?
No, on The Good Wife.
Okay.
Whatever his character's name was.
The investigator from New Jersey.
That is correct. Jason. Right? Did I get a name right?
I don't remember.
You can't even confirm. No, the character is one-dimensional. He's so over the top about it with the lean and the drawl and the bleh. And he has zero redeeming qualities. I need at least one, something for me to hold on to so that I know that he was human before, like he was a normal person before the apocalypse. And now, because of the apocalypse, he's had to take on this character. I could get with that. It's why I didn't have such a big problem with the governor, even though he was a murderous psychopath. He had a daughter, and I could understand that, and I could relate to that. Negan, there's nothing.
If they do it at this point...
It's too late.
Too late.
It's too late. Don't you think it's too late?
Oh, I think it's too late, yeah.
It's just I don't care anymore. In this entire episode, when he made Carl take off the eye patch... Carl, a character I've always disliked. And I was just like, can we leave Carl alone? Do you have to sit there and make fun of the kid for his, like, missing eye? It's just like, ugh. And then the wives thing. Oh, the wives. He
doesn't believe in rape, but he believes in having sex with a lot of women who supposedly are there of their own free will. Yeah.
I was like, really? We're going to add that on top of it? That he has, like, concubines for what? Like, I don't even know what to say anymore.
I know.
And now he's found his way to Alexandria with Carl and knows that Judith is there. And when he picked her up, I was like, I am completely disgusted.
Yeah. I think I might like suburban life. Yeah, I'm so close to being done with this.
Me too. And you know,
and
I
you
just
got
got
up, Erin. In case you haven't been paying attention, Erin caught up on 6 seasons of The Walking Dead over the last 6 months.
Yes, and now I'm like, oh shoot, I watched all those episodes for this.
Nothing.
Guys, if you feel differently, please tweet us at Remote Podcast because I really want to know why you're still watching, and if you're not watching, why aren't you watching? And what do you think about Negan? Is there a way to redeem this character? I'm saying no. I also, just one more thing before we move on to the zombies. I think that they're not doing right by Rick this season. Because Rick, to me, has always been a really strong character. And I totally get it. Negan came in, killed Glenn, and killed Abraham. And that just threw Rick off. But everyone else around him is like, we gotta fight back. Like, we can't just let this guy take over. And Rick's like, oh, let me go out and see what I can find for Negan. You know, because he's our new master.
Well, don't you?
And
I mean,
just like,
you're
what?
supposed to believe that the stunt that he pulled with, like having to cut off his son's arm or something, was supposed to have broken him. The man is broken, but the man has been broken before.
Correct.
The man was broken at the prison.
I just don't think they're being true to his character, unless there's going to be some big reveal and it turns out that Rick has been,
plotting
concocting a plan. But usually,
bunker.
But usually there's some sort of indication that that's happening. And I think that if that comes out of nowhere, I'm going to be like, oh, come on, guys.
I just love how invested you are in this
I
now.
know, right? Did you remember when we first started this podcast, I'd be like, you have to get Bobby in here to talk about The Walking Dead because I don't care. I care now. All right, let's talk about the zombies real quick.
Erin has also discovered my favorite, spin-off topic of The Walking Dead, which is zombie biomechanics, which if you read any story I've ever written about zombies, I am absolutely obsessed by. Okay, I think that you can do zombies in a way that makes sense, and I think in World War Z, the book by Max Brooks, they do it. In the movie, which there are different zombies, they make it work. Here, the zombie apocalypse doesn't really make any sense because the zombies should be decaying.
They should be decaying.
And they are decaying, but they're still mobile.
They're still
moving around. But my point is, I think this actually was really brought home to me by Fear the Walking Dead, which I don't think, Erin, you were watching.
I watched the first 5 episodes.
Okay.
Season 1.
And Fear, this actually, I think, when I stopped watching Fear the Walking Dead. Fear the Walking Dead, right now, they were holed up, or they were when I stopped watching. They were holed up in a hotel in Tijuana. And, they had a scene where all these zombies are falling off balconies, 10 stories, 20 stories high, whatever, falling to the ground, and then getting up and walking, okay? Dude, Okay, unless
Vicki.
this zombie plague, a virus, whatever, has made their bones super strong,
their bones.
which we have no indication that they have.
Correct.
Their bones would have been crushed upon impact into millions of little pieces, and you cannot stand up if you have nothing to stand up on. Okay, it would be like gravel. It'd be like if you're gravel trying to stand up and walk.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, there's too many things that are happening with their bodies to make them move the way they are moving on the show.
So, yes, Vicki is spot on. And what I noticed in this week's episode of The Walking Dead was when they got to the sanctuary and they do this panning shot of all the zombies who are chained up outside, there's this one woman. Now, I have natural hair, as I like to point out. There's this one woman with this huge, like, bouffant. And I'm like, if you're a zombie and we're this far into the zombie apocalypse, wouldn't your hair fall out? Like, I can barely keep my hair in and I'm alive. So I don't know how this dead zombie...
And she was decayed.
She was decayed. And then next to her, there was this guy with, like, a helmet hair situation. And I'm like, his hair is that thick and he's a freaking dead person. So that, to me, it just totally took me out of the moment. I'm just like, what is happening here? Like, you have to do a better job.
And we've already discussed that they move differently and they seem to have different abilities, I guess,
Right.
maybe depending on what season you're in.
Right.
Zombies should not be able to walk upstairs.
Correct.
Zombies, when they fall down, they should have a really hard time getting up.
Right. None of these things are happening.
No. And they're moving, I don't know if they're moving, they were moving faster at one point. I don't know if they're still moving faster. I don't know.
I think they're moving a lot slower now.
Okay.
But that's a problem with zombies. Again, if you have a problem with zombies, tweet us at Remote Podcast. Okay, so Vicki, seeing as how this is our last show of the year.
Yes.
It's episode 60. Let's give our best and worst of 2016. We're going to do one each. It's really hard, I know.
We're going to do one each, although of course I'm going to mention the other ones.
Of course you
can't
are.
Stop me.
You can't. I can't do anything. So give me your worst of 2016.
Okay. Well, I was thinking about this, so I'm going to take you through my thought process. And I was
Okay.
thinking about shows that were just terrible shows, that, should never have made it to air, were promptly canceled, terribly written, poorly thought out, terrible acting. And I was like, oh, well, there's that Second Chance show that was like it used to be called the Frankenstein show about the sheriff on Fox. The sheriff who was killed and was
With
part
Tim
of like,
DeKay.
yes,
Yes.
was part of a conspiracy. And then like, these two, I think Asian Indian scientist, one of whom is like, I don't know.
was that this year or was that last
this
year?
That was in the winter. It was terrible. And so I was like, okay. I was like, but it's just like, it's so minor. It's just so typical of a terrible show.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about The Great Indoors, which I actually watched a second episode of because I was like, I do this like I did this with Dr. Ken. It's like, is it really as bad as I think it is? And it's so totally as bad as I think it is. But it's got good talent. But this is the show starring Joel McHale.
About the millennials out of magazine.
About the millennials. And it's just like nonstop cheap laughs at millennials. And I don't like millennials. I'm sorry. I'm kidding.
No, she's not.
But it's the same joke over and over again. And then I realized, of course, which is the worst show of the year, which I think you're going to agree with me on.
Hit us.
Which is a show that was great and is now terrible and thinks it's still great is Unreal.
OMG.
You forgot it. You forgot it, didn't you?
I completely forgot.
It's Unreal.
And
the
you know
worst show
what?
of the year.
You know what? I'm with you.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
I was waiting for you to because you had said I was going to agree. And I was like, well, let me hear what Vicki has to say. No, 100% Unreal worst show of the year. It went from best show, one of the best shows.
Certainly one of the best new shows of the year.
To a hot, stinking mess. It was in season 2.
And the thing that I think annoyed me the most that they thought they were like...
They really did.
They
They
really-
bought into their own hype
Yes.
is the problem.
We're going to do something that you didn't see coming, and it's so risky and so daring,
Right.
and it was terrible.
It was not good.
It was just not only terrible TV, but like just...
It was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying, basically,
the
the issue is that they were trying to take on racism in television and ended up being racist.
So
is that
comical.
correct?
Yes,
Is that correct?
I mean,
okay.
it was the worst. So I agree with that. I completely agree with that. So that's also my worst. So I'll give you my best now since we
But
agree
did you,
on worst.
no, did you have another one?
I was going to say something like The Great Indoors or like any of the CBS shows this season.
Yes.
I mean, they're all terrible. Okay, so for my best show of the year, it was really hard to make a decision. I didn't look. I'm not looking at your list, Vicki. I'm going to go and say The Night Of.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was great. I also wanted to say Insecure because I think highly of that show. I think it was really, really great. But I'm going to say the best show of the year was the night of. It was a perfect number of episodes. I love the acting. I love the storytelling. I really liked how it ended. And I just thought it was great. A great event series. Hopefully they don't bring it back.
I agree with you, although the one thing that made it go, because it was number 10 on my list.
It was
10.
number 10. There were 9
list.
shows above it?
Yes. It was number 7 on my list of best new shows and number 10 on my list of
7?
best overall. Yes. And
is this list available at NJ.com?
It will be available at NJ.com. I had to do this because the Television Critics Association always does a ranking, and then we turn it in, and then they crunch the numbers and come up with this is what the television critics think is the best.
Got it.
So I had to do that this week.
Okay.
So I spent a lot of time on this thinking about it. And the night of, actually, what I came back to that always kept on bothering me is the female lawyer.
Oh, the prosecutor.
No. The defense lawyer, and just how horrible and poorly thought out and ridiculous the whole thing. And she ended up like smuggling drugs. And I'm like, it was kind of unforgivable to me.
It was bad, but I don't think that ruined the entire series.
It didn't ruin it. It still made my list, but it made it go down. I'm gonna say my number 1 show. Wasn't Stranger Things. Wasn't Game of Thrones.
I totally forgot about Stranger Things.
I didn't forget.
But I would still say the night
it's
of
the People versus O.J. Simpson.
Oh.
Oh my God. Oh. No. Great number of episodes.
Great show.
Great acting throughout. Completely. I mean, you just could not stop watching.
I did think it was good.
And yet was saying some fascinating, extremely topical things about how we're living today. So I thought it had it all going on, except for John Travolta.
I think I would put those would be my top 3.
Okay.
Stranger Things, The Night of, and O.J. Simpson. Go down the rest of your best list real quick.
My overall or my best new shows?
Overall.
Okay, number 10, The Night of. Number 9, This Is Us. Yes, it's there. Number 8, The Crown, which you didn't watch. Wonderful on Netflix.
Watched 3 episodes.
Oh, I love it.
I still
I'm just
like
completely
it.
addicted to it. Number 7, last week with John Oliver. I think he's doing great stuff. Number 6, Atlanta. So incredibly original. You have to give it props.
I watched the whole season.
Okay, but incredibly original.
Sure.
But, I didn't enjoy it as much as I like number 5, Better Things. Number 4, Better Call Saul. Do you watch that?
No.
Better Call Saul's still wonderful.
Producer Alyssa's like, I watched that.
Yeah.
One show out of like the million shows you guys watch.
Number 3, Stranger Things. Number 2, Game of Thrones. And number 1, People versus O.J. Simpson.
I did think Game of Thrones had a strong season.
Had a very strong
season last year, which was
exactly.
not
and
as
it
strong.
had like, the last 2 episodes. I mean, the episode, The Battle of the Bastards, was probably the most intense thing I've ever sat through on television ever.
Yeah, I think the one that I liked more than that was when they blew up King's Landing.
It was number 10, yeah. That was also very, very good.
Yeah, that was great.
And then
whatever his name was, Tommen jumped out of the window.
Tommen jumped. And then Cersei ended up crowning herself queen
Cersei's
at the
amazing.
end. Oh, it
she's
was wonderful.
the worst, but she's the best.
It was wonderful.
That is a great list, Vicki. Some of those shows I forgot all about them. But there will be more TV in 2017, and we will be here to watch. One of the shows that we're going to look for next week, we'll tweet about it since we're not going to have a new podcast, is Star on Fox, which I really enjoyed. I don't think have you watched it yet?
I have not watched it yet.
Okay.
And because you know what? Sometimes I just don't want to watch it.
Okay.
And this is one I do not want to watch.
I think you will be pleasantly surprised.
Really?
Absolutely.
Really?
You know what it kind of takes the tone of? Precious. Same person.
I never
Lee
watched
Daniels.
Precious.
Oh, you never saw that movie?
I read the book.
Okay, well,
yes, I'm that person.
I think it's the same tone as Precious, and it's not like Empire at all.
Okay, well, that's
good. Yeah, I think a lot of people have that fear. So thank you guys for being with us. It's been a great 2016.
Really? Has it been?
It actually, it's been a pretty crappy 2016.
Yeah.
But for TV, it's been pretty
great.
good 2016.
Great.
We've had a lot of great shows on the air this year. Vicki and I will be back together again soon, so look out for us. Yes, in 2017. In the meantime, go back and listen to some of our episodes here so you can learn more about us if you've missed a few. And you can always tweet us at @E_meds, at Vicki High, VICKIHY, and at Remote Podcast. Until 2017, friends.